Sally Field, a name that glows with grace, integrity, and quiet rebellion. To the public, she was the radiant girl who surfed through television screens in the 1960s. To Hollywood, she became the face of courage, the woman who could break your heart with a single look. But behind the accolades, 2 Oscars, and the warm, disarming smile, there lived a woman unafraid to speak the truth, even when it meant revealing the darker corners of Hollywood and her own pain. Her story is one of transformation, from a shy girl in Pasadena to an actress who defied typecasting, loved deeply, fought fiercely, and endured one of the most bitter on-set feuds in Hollywood history, a clash that left scars still felt decades later. Because when Sally Field said she truly hated him more than anyone, she wasn't exaggerating. She was remembering the storm that defined one of the most difficult moments of her life. Sally Margaret Field was born on November 6, 1946, in Pasadena, California, a city of sunshine, parades, and Hollywood dreams. Her mother, Margaret Field, was a working actress, whose career in film and television never quite reached stardom but provided the family with a window into the industry. Her stepfather, Jock Mahoney, was a rugged stuntman turned actor, known for his fearless athleticism and commanding screen presence. Outwardly, their family looked picture-perfect, Hollywood royalty in miniature. But behind the veneer, the atmosphere was tense. Sally later revealed in her memoir In Pieces that her childhood was marked by confusion, fear, and emotional isolation. She described herself as a quiet observer, often retreating into imagination as a way to cope. Her stepfather, while successful and admired on screen, was a strict and complicated man at home. Sally's early years, filled with insecurity and silence, would later become the emotional fuel for her most moving performances. Acting wasn't just a dream, it was a form of survival. "I didn't want to be seen as I was," she wrote. "I wanted to be someone else, anyone else." In the early 1960s, television was booming, and Hollywood needed young faces with energy and innocence. Sally fit that image perfectly. Fresh out of Birmingham High School in Van Nuys, she auditioned for a small comedy series about a teenage surfer. That show was Gidget, 1965. It lasted only 1 season, but in that single year, Sally Field became America's darling. Her youthful optimism, natural smile, and effortless timing made her instantly relatable. Teen magazines plastered her photo across every cover. But the success was bittersweet. While audiences adored her, Sally felt creatively stifled. She later said she was treated like a product, not an artist. When The Flying Nun followed 2 years later, the image of her in a habit and winged headpiece became iconic, and for her, humiliating. "I felt ridiculous," she admitted years later. "I wanted to cry every day on that set." She played Sister Bertrille from 1967 to 1970, smiling brightly while the role quietly suffocated her. The series was a commercial hit, but Sally knew it was a dead end. She feared she'd never be taken seriously. When The Flying Nun ended, Sally Field faced a crossroads. She could chase another sitcom or disappear into television obscurity. Instead, she took a leap few believed she could make. She enrolled at the Actors Studio, studying under the legendary Lee Strasberg, mentor to Al Pacino, Marilyn Monroe, and James Dean. It was here that Sally found her voice, or rather, her pain. Strasberg's method acting technique demanded raw emotional honesty. He pushed her to confront her own fears and past trauma, forcing her to draw truth from experience. "He stripped away everything I used as protection," she later recalled, "and what was left was me." This training became the cornerstone of her rebirth as an actress. She emerged not as the cheerful TV girl, but as a woman capable of extraordinary emotional depth. In 1976, her transformation stunned Hollywood. She played the title role in the made-for-TV film Sybil, portraying a woman living with dissociative identity disorder. It was a role that required her to embody more than a dozen personalities: fragile, angry, innocent, broken. Her performance was breathtaking. Critics called it a masterclass in vulnerability. Sally won an Emmy Award, and suddenly, the girl who once wore a flying habit was being hailed as one of the best dramatic actresses of her generation. Just 3 years later, Sally Field would take on a role that forever changed her career and her life. Norma Rae, 1979, was inspired by the real-life story of Crystal Lee Sutton, a textile worker who fought to unionize her factory in the American South. The film was raw, political, and emotionally charged. Sally threw herself into the role completely. She spent weeks visiting textile mills, studying the rhythms and language of working-class women. She didn't just act the part, she lived it. Her portrayal of Norma was fierce yet tender, embodying every ounce of courage she'd carried since childhood. When the film premiered, audiences were electrified. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress, standing on that stage trembling with disbelief. Her acceptance speech, often misquoted as, "You like me, you really like me," was a vulnerable cry of gratitude. What she actually said was, "I can't deny the fact that you like me. Right now, you like me." It was more than a line. It was a release, a lifetime of struggle collapsing into one moment of recognition. With Norma Rae behind her, Sally was not only respected, she was bankable. And it was on the set of Smokey and the Bandit 1977 that she met one of the most charismatic men in Hollywood, Burt Reynolds. He was the biggest box office star in the world at the time. Charming, mischievous, larger than life. Their chemistry was instantaneous. On screen, they were electric. Off screen, their love was just as passionate. They starred together in Smokey and the Bandit 2, Hooper and the End, becoming America's favorite couple. But their relationship, beneath the laughter, was complicated. Burt adored Sally, but also tried to control her. He was used to being the alpha, and Sally was no longer the shy girl from television. She was a two-time Emmy winner, an independent spirit determined to chart her own path. "I loved Burt deeply," she later wrote, "but he wanted me to be someone smaller than I was." They broke up in 1982 after years of tension. He called her the love of my life in his 2015 memoir. She remembered him with bittersweet affection, but also with clarity. "We were not good for each other," she said simply. Their love burned bright and burned out just as fast. Through heartbreak and fame, one thing remained constant in Sally's life: her devotion to her family. Her first marriage, to high school sweetheart Stephen Craig, had produced two sons, Peter and Eli, both of whom followed her into creative careers. In 1984, she married producer Alan Greisman, and in 1987 gave birth to her third son, Sam. Even as she balanced motherhood with film sets, her performances only deepened. That same year, she starred in Places in the Heart, a quiet, profound film about a widow in Depression-era Texas. The role earned her a second Academy Award, making her one of only a handful of actresses to win twice by that time. "I carried every piece of my life into that role," she said. "Every loss, every hope, every ounce of faith." Her sons remained her anchor. "They're my heart," she once told an interviewer. "The rest of this, the fame, the applause, it comes and goes. But they're real." It was 1981, just before Places in the Heart, when Sally signed on to star opposite Tommy Lee Jones in Back Roads. The movie told the story of a drifter and a prostitute traveling across the American South, two broken souls trying to survive. It was gritty, emotional, and unpredictable, and behind the camera, it became infamous. At first, Sally was excited. Tommy Lee Jones was known for his intensity, his precision, and his brilliance, but she quickly discovered that working with him was not what she expected. "He was impossible," she said in later interviews. "I've worked with difficult men before, but Tommy was something else entirely." Crew members later described the tension as unbearable. Jones was domineering, dismissive, and often combative. Field, known for her empathy and preparation, tried to bridge the gap, but every attempt ended in frustration. "He treated me like I didn't know what I was doing," she said. "I had already won an Oscar. It was insulting." Their scenes crackled with real tension because the anger wasn't acting, it was real. "Every glare between us, every argument you see on screen, that was us," she admitted. When filming wrapped, she vowed never to work with him again. "I couldn't stand being in the same room with him," she said. "I truly hated him, more than anyone I'd ever worked with." Tommy Lee Jones, true to form, never publicly responded. Those close to him said he brushed it off as nonsense, but the reputation stuck. Many actors and directors later noted that Jones could be a brilliant performer and a nightmare collaborator. The set of Back Roads became one of those whispered Hollywood legends, a film remembered less for its story and more for the battle that took place behind the scenes. For Sally Field, the experience wasn't just about dislike, it was about boundaries. She had spent a lifetime earning respect, and she refused to let anyone diminish her again. He was cruel in ways that didn't need to be, she said years later. Talent doesn't excuse cruelty. Crew members recalled moments of eerie silence on set, long takes filled with real hostility. It was like watching two storms collide, one said. They were both brilliant, both stubborn, and neither willing to yield. And yet, despite the bitterness, the result on screen was electric. Critics praised the film's rawness, the way the characters' frustration felt painfully authentic. Sally later admitted she used that anger as fuel. I put every ounce of irritation I felt toward him into my performance. It was cathartic and exhausting. When Backroads was released, it received mixed reviews, but no one could deny the power of the performances. Ironically, the tension that had tormented her had also made her work unforgettable. In the years that followed, Sally Field continued to thrive. Her career spanned generations from Steel Magnolias to Forrest Gump, ER, Brothers and Sisters, and Lincoln. She remained outspoken, using her platform to champion women's rights, LGBTQ+ equality, and mental health awareness. Her youngest son, Sam, came out publicly in 2012, and Sally became an advocate for LGBTQ youth, receiving the Human Rights Campaign's Ally Award. Her memoir In Pieces, 2018, peeled back every layer of her life, the insecurities, the trauma, the love stories, and the truths she had carried alone for decades. Reading it felt like listening to Sally speak directly to the world, not as a movie star, but as a survivor. I learned that honesty is the only thing that lasts, she wrote. Everything else fades, the fame, the fear, the pretending. Today, Sally Field stands not just as an actress, but as a symbol of authenticity. Her feud with Tommy Lee Jones remains a footnote, but an important one. It revealed the steel inside the sweetness, the fire behind the smile. She once said, "People think actors always become friends after filming. That's not always true. Sometimes you just survive it." That single line captures everything about Sally's journey: survival, truth, and grace under fire. At 70+, she continues to act, write, and inspire. Each wrinkle on her face tells a story not of age but of honesty earned the hard way. Because Sally Field never pretended to be perfect. She was real, flawed, passionate, outspoken, brave, and in a world built on illusions, that honesty made her timeless. She once said, "I don't care if people like me anymore. I care if they understand me." And now perhaps we finally do. Sally Field didn't just play the part of strong women. She was one, a woman who fought to be taken seriously, who survived Hollywood's cruelty, who loved, lost, and kept her dignity intact. So if you admire her courage, take a second to honor her truth. Press like as a tribute to her unshakable honesty, and leave a fan or the word respect in the comments to salute a legend who never pretended. And don't forget to subscribe, because here every story goes beyond the fame, and every star has a truth waiting to be told.